Welcome to You're Still Doing That, where we talk to everyday people about their childhood joys that have endured into adulthood. Joining me today is the wonderful Margaret Champagne.
I like that introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. And for those of you who are outside of Sanford, you may not know Margaret Champagne, but what do you do today that you still did as a kid that we're going to talk about?
I am an actress. Yes, I'm an actress. I've been doing it since I was 4 years old. So if we do the math, that's 4 plus 44.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to the show where tens of people are going to hear you, Margaret. You finally made it in acting.
Woo! Thank you.
So let's find out what it's like to be a working actor. But first, we got to set the stage. We're recording virtually today. I'm located in the beautiful Sanford, North Carolina. Margaret, where are you at?
I'm in the beautiful Queens, New York.
Oh, right, awesome.
Yeah.
That I've never explored New York. I need to get up there and do that
Oh,
sometime.
get on up here and call me up,
Oh, right.
and we'll go on an adventure.
So Margaret, we were both in high school together. Were you born in Sanford, North Carolina?
No, I was born in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. There's a music capital for you.
Yes, that's a
So
fun place.
how did you end up in Sanford?
Well, so my parents went to the University of Austin, Texas, and that's where they had me and my 2 brothers, and then they my dad's job brought him then to Nebraska, and he worked at the Center for Middle Eastern Studies where he was, his countries of study were Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, and then that job brought him to Fort Bragg because he started working for the government, and he worked, same kind of job, Middle Eastern analyst, PSYOPs
Right.
operations. So then that's how we ended up in Sanford because at the time my mom was at UNC Chapel Hill working and my dad was at Fort Bragg. So the midpoint for them to drive to their destinations was Sanford. So
Ah,
yeah, so it was just
there you
it was a
go.
midpoint. Um, yeah, so that's how I ended up in
There you
Sanford,
go.
the
I'm
brick capital of
also
the world.
brick capital of the world. I'm a transplant as well. All my
Where?
family was born in California.
Oh,
And so I got to Sanford when I was 11. My dad was in the car business, and his
uh-huh.
company was in carburetors. And so that got kind of obsolete. And so he moved to Sanford and he worked at Magneti Morelli. There you go.
Oh
I
yeah.
brought him across there. So I was 11 when I got to Sanford. What age were you when you got Sanford?
All right, so 2nd grade, I was young, so I don't
Seven.
know. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
you're 7.
I'm
See,
like,
I'm an elementary
what?
school teacher, so I
Oh,
know the ages. There you go.
oh my gosh, that's awesome. Very cool.
Um, all right. So when did you get the acting bug, or when did you start wanting to perform?
I love that you called it the bug because I was thinking
The
about
bug.
this interview and I was like, "Oh god, how do I talk about what this thing is that you just do and since your whole life?" And definitely I called it the bug when I was a kid. That's exactly the way I referred to it. Maybe it was because it was kid language, but it was like
Right.
this thing that it was just like I had a lot of energy, I think, as a child, and I think I would often just be too much. I don't know, so I
I know exactly what that looks like. I know
Yeah.
as an elementary teacher, I know exactly what
Yeah,
too much
yeah,
looks
like,
like.
the kid that just talks too loud, talks too much. I found some old report cards actually from 2nd grade, and they were like, "Well, she's a good kid, but she talks so much, she doesn't stop talking." Like, those little folded report
Right.
cards. My
Yep.
mom gave me a box recently because now
Eh.
that's where we're getting all the boxes from the parents now. They're like, "Get this
Oh,
out of here."
don't get me started on what's in my garage from parents. Oh my
Right.
god.
So that was something, and then, I remember, like, I was at some festival, and I was sitting on my grandmother's lap. This might have been in Nebraska, and my grandma said I just jumped out of her lap, and I went running up on the stage when they asked people to come on the stage, and I was
Right.
probably 4 or 5, and I don't know why I did that, but I did. The thing for me was it made me feel good.
Yeah.
Just I just like to do it. I don't know what it what it was at that age. Uh, it just was like you as a child, I think you kinda gravitate towards what makes you feel good
That's
or
right.
happy, and that made me feel happy. So
Yeah,
there
that's
I
what you
was.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we lose when we become adults. So that's what I
Right.
point of the podcast is to find people that still do their kids stuff because those are the happiest people.
Yeah, because we just don't grow up.
No, no, you don't want to grow up.
Delusions of grandeur that
That's
never
right.
leave our psyche.
So, what kind of teachers or influencers did you have growing up that pushed you to act and to be
Oh,
on
yeah.
stage or to perform?
Definitely, like, the drama teachers. I remember Miss Ward from elementary school. I
Yeah,
auditioned, I don't remember what grade, but it was definitely elementary, and it was Santa Claus and the Snowmobile,
yeah, yeah.
and I auditioned for the role of Santa Claus. Now, this was back in the when was this? Like, I graduated so that was, like, in the late '80s?
Late '80s. Yeah.
And I was a little girl in maybe 6th grade because it was like and I just remember getting up on that stage and just boomingly loud like, "Ho, ho, ho."
Right. Right.
And I don't know, I got the role. Miss Ward gave me the role of Santa Claus. So
Good
I got
teacher. Good
good
teacher.
teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Miss Ward, definitely. And then all of my drama teachers, they were just more, I don't know, they're free, creative. I like to just let the be creative and not feel like you're gonna fail or there's no,
Right. Right.
so Miss Ward, I'm trying to remember the junior high school teacher. I really liked her too, but I can't remember her name right now. And then, of course, Miss Beale, obvious, like
Yeah.
all of those. Um, and also, I had a math teacher too that was really inspirational. The guidance counselors, for some reason, I found myself always talking to guidance counselors. Uh, Probably behavioral stuff because I was
Right.
acting out, and
Right.
that was where I ended up in the drama world.
Right. Well, that's
Drama.
probably a perfect fit right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so in Sanford, North Carolina, we have a wonderful theater, local theater that's been around for a while and does a great job. And lots of fun people have gone through there, the Temple Theater. And did you do any work with Temple?
Oh, yeah. That was probably one of the biggest, like, helpers in my
Yeah.
my whole life as a trajectory for my career. Like, they would have, the auditions, they would have the plays. I remember in high school, we'd often perform there for also children,
Yep.
and I did a lot of shows with the Temple, and I remember Tim, I can't remember his last name. I was gonna say Tim Morrissey was the artistic director at the time, I think. But it really was like as a young person to work in that type of space was it just elevated the work, and you would meet
Right.
these working actors from New York. I remember
Hmm.
doing costumes for, I think it was Ain't Misbehavin', and Cleo King. I followed her career because I got to change her costumes in the wings,
Yeah.
and she just inspired me so much, and, I would see her on television, and I was just
Yeah.
blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Temple brings in some pretty high profile folks
Yes.
that stay really busy. They're still doing that now. They're really full tilt boogie with the youth. They've got the Temple Teens, the
Awesome.
group they have, and it's a pretty large group, and they get around and they've got like a kids conservatory in the summer, and they get probably about 100 kids, and they
Wow.
learn a show and put it on, and
That's
they put
amazing.
all the money and effort into those shows as they would a main stage production. So it's got everything.
Yeah, I always felt like the quality was just excellent, and I just
Yeah.
love that space that, like, it's kind of got, like, the old kinda look, and, like, they've, maintained that, and, when I got to go back to do that stand-up special,
My wife and I were there.
oh, yeah, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we sure were.
That was such a treat. That was so fun for me, like, that was one of
Yeah.
my favorite performances I've ever done because, um, just being in that space and just the years that had gone by and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was
Circling the drain.
is so
Perkinson.
right.
Ron. Yeah.
Ron, yeah, I was about to say,
Mhm.
so that's your dad, right? Or is
Oh,
Ron
Ron
your dad?
Perkinson?
Yeah.
That's Shay Perkinson's dad. So when I
Shay
was
Perkinson.
yes, and he
Okay,
was
I was trying to remember the connection.
that's okay, yeah. So Shay was one of my best friends in high school, and I remembered her dad being a stand-up comic, but I didn't know much about him because he was
Right.
doing Charlie Goodnights, and, but I didn't know that stand-up world. That's something that kinda came later to me. I didn't even start doing
Yeah.
that till, like, I was 30. But, it was a way for me to perform by myself because
Yeah,
as you
yeah.
age, you kind of the group thing, it's harder. As you know, you get
Yeah.
families, you start but,
Mhm.
yeah, so Ron Perkison, he called me up and said, "Hey, I do this show once a year, Circling the Drain. It would be so fun to have you." And I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I think I got about 20 minutes. I'll come,"
Yeah.
And, yeah, I had a blast.
Yeah, it was great. We had enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'll get back to your comedy bit in a minute. So you're in Sanford, you graduate, you go up to New York to Pace University. What
Yes.
got you all the way up there?
Well, I remember one of the trips I took with Pam in high school, we went to New York City, and, oh, man, that did
You're
it.
right.
That was the nail in the coffin
I
because
bet so.
really I wanted to see the world. I also had, like, a little bit of this hometown town rebellion, and, I grew up
Yeah.
with extremely liberal parents and extremely kind of different worldview than a lot of
Yeah.
my friends and a lot of what was going on, and I felt really suffocated,
Yeah, yeah.
on a in a personal level, which also kind of definitely colored my professional dreams,
Yeah.
and New York was a sanctuary city,
Right?
and I felt like
I
I
bet
could go
so.
there and, like, open my mind and be so that was it. That got me up there, and I applied to a bunch of colleges, and I don't know, by the grace of the money gods, I got a scholarship,
You got
and
up
so
there. That's
yeah,
awesome.
that was a nice scholarship that got me to Pace, honestly.
Yeah. And so did you study acting at Pace?
I did. I got a
Yeah.
Bachelor of Fine Arts in concentration in acting, and
Yeah.
it was a program that was really kind of vast. You learned all the aspects, like
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's probably, I think, a lot of parents' worst nightmares. Like your kid goes to school. All right, so have you decided what you're going to study? Yeah, I'm going to study acting. You're like,
acting, yeah.
what?
Yeah, I was
That's
lucky
not
that my parents were so
right.
chill. They were chill on it.
Yeah,
They were chill.
yeah. So that's great. Yeah, supportive parents. By God, we love supportive parents. Mine have always been very supportive, and
Yeah,
you can just
it's
see the kids that blossom because the parents give them room to explore and
yeah,
grow.
and
Uh,
fail
And fail.
because you
Yes,
gotta
and
fail, but you
fail.
fail upwards. It's gonna
Yep.
help you. It's
So what
gonna
was
help
your
you.
first paid acting gig?
I mean, it might have been Snow Camp, North Carolina, really. The outdoor dramas?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I also got paid to do some sort of commercial in Sanford when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, maybe and I have still the script, and it's framed on my wall. I have it over there. Like, the
Oh,
first
great.
pay I think that was the first. It was a commercial for Chris Hall's dad's electronic company, maybe, where they sell
Yeah.
TVs.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and, I played a detective, and I got it. Yeah, that was my first probably paid gig, which I didn't get paid for another 10 years
Right? Oh my
because it's a
goodness.
strug. It's a hard business. Let's be
Yes,
honest. But,
I can believe it.
yeah, yeah, that
All
was my
right.
first paid gig.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you graduated. So what happened next? Did you stay in New York City or did you have to fly home for a bit or
Yeah, I stayed. I stayed. I was able to I moved into Dumbo into an old factory that was kind of,
yeah?
like, divided into different areas. I got a job as a waitress, and I had a little apartment cleaning business called Champagne Cleaners, where
Ooh,
I
that's a
would
great name.
yeah.
Sounds luxurious.
Oh, yes, like, with a
Yeah.
white glove, except for it was like a
Right.
plastic
Come
rubber
in and
glove.
give them a glass of champagne while you're cleaning their house. I love it.
Yeah, and I also sold monkey puppets at the seaport, and then I just kinda dove into the theater world, and I got really
Right.
involved in the avant-garde theater world because I feel like I was exploring the art form, and I was really interested in it, and I was just doing a lot of wacky stuff like, plays where I would dress up with an egg costume and be covered in
Yeah.
eggs and then throw eggs at a plexiglass wall, and I guess I just wanted to, you know,
Right. Try
it
everything.
try everything, yeah,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of that going on back in the early '90s in New
90s. Yep.
York, a lot of avant-garde theater stuff, so I explored that, and then I grew,
Yep.
and I wanted story again, like, I wanted to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
see a
Yeah.
play that I could see the beginning.
You can make sense.
I can make sense of it. Like, it's all fun, shock, and awe, and that's a lot of our youth is this
Yep.
rebellion, and it's
Mhm.
rebellion against the stories you told in your youth, and so then I did theater for a very long time and simultaneously worked on kind of B movies. Friends of friends were making movies. I made a
Right?
movie, like, and these weren't even B movies. These were like D, E.
Right. Well, I watched Bikini Bloodbath,
Oh, yes.
Car
Okay.
Wash edition
Okay,
last
good.
night. And
Nice.
so I know exactly what you mean. We've got that I've got a buddy who makes films here in Sanford. And I was like, "Oh, this is right along the lines of his stuff too.
Yeah.
Just
Wait,
friends
did
getting
you
together
you
and making movies."
he's a movie theater guy too? That
Yeah, he runs Spring Lane Cinemas.
I
Yeah,
listened to a lot of that. It was a great podcast. You guys
yeah,
had a great show. Yeah,
yeah.
he's
He
super
does.
interesting.
Yeah, he does. I don't know. He probably does one or two a year as employees and past employees and buddies. They all get together
And do something. Yeah.
and do something. Yeah,
Because, yeah, you're not making these like high grade $10 million films that are seen by the
right.
world, but you're doing the craft, the art form.
Yeah,
And that's because you're jonesing for it. You want to do it. And,
yeah,
you got to accept, hey, it's not going to be perfect. These movies aren't going to be, but that's
yeah.
where you learn. I mean, that
But
was
you got
my,
to do it to learn, right?
yeah,
You got to keep going.
yeah.
You don't
I
learn
mean,
unless you do it.
no. And it's,
Especially not in a classroom either. You got to get out there
yeah, you
and get
gotta
it
get out
rolling.
there and I know a lot of people that they live in classes all the time. I'm like, they'd rather be in a class than do a movie, and I'm like,
You
how
got
long
to
do you
get
go to
out there,
medical school before you have to just get out there and do
right?
it? You
That's
can't go to
right.
medical school forever. You have to become a doctor sometimes. So it's like, yeah, and there's always like the upkeep classes, which are great, but at the same
Yeah.
time, just try it. Try to get in, go for it. Yeah.
Well,
I had no
congrats on
pride. I had no
yeah.
pride. I was in every movie that was offered to me. I didn't care. I think work begets work too. Like, I don't
That's
turn
right.
stuff down. I
The more
just
you
kind of,
do, yep. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, same thing for me starting podcasting. I joined a couple of, told Chrissy, it's like Tinder for podcasters, and it's people just throwing their stuff out, trying to find
Yeah.
other people's shows. So
Yeah.
I do shows with all kinds of random people I have no connection with whatsoever, but I'm like, hey, come on and let's do it.
Yeah.
The more you get it done, the better you get.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, you got 45 titles, at least on IMDb anyway, to your name. That's spectacular. I would kill to have
Thank
my
you.
name in IMDb for, I don't care anything.
Thanks,
So that's
man.
awesome, man. And congrats to being able to stay in New York City. A lot of people go up there and they wash out. They got to come back home or they can't make a go of it. But
Yeah.
champagne carpets and selling stuff on the docks. I mean,
Oh,
that's what you
yeah.
do.
Hey, you just whatever it takes. I feel like that bug, if it's that strong, you find a way.
You find
I
a
mean,
way.
I also had, the communities of the theater, like, when you get involved in the theater, it's like, they become your friends and then you have like a little bit of a family. So hey, anybody who's hiring, I need a side
Yeah.
job, then that waitress knows somebody that they work at a restaurant, they need
Yep. Yep.
another
Yep.
waitress. So once you kind of get plugged in and you stick together like a pack, you can really
Right.
help each
People
other.
know you.
Yeah.
All right. So, your first credit, at least on IMDb for a movie, is in 2001 with the film Make Pretend
Oh yeah,
that you
that
had
was
the lead on. How did you get into getting that gig?
that was really such a great experience. I when I came to New York, I met actor and director by the name of DJ Mendel, and he kind of was someone I met through the Pace world.
Yeah.
He was doing a lot of Richard Foreman stuff in downtown Manhattan, and then he also worked a lot with Hal Hartley. And I was in a couple Hal movies, like little small parts. I was a
Right.
big
Right.
fan of his stuff. But and then DJ went to make a movie, and we had worked together in this downtown theater scene, and I got cast as Baby. That that movie was like, I don't know if you saw Lars and the Real Girl, but it was like, I think it was like a movie of like Lars and the Real Girl before
Yeah.
Lars and the Real Girl. It was about a woman, a girl, me, who wants to have a baby so bad but doesn't, so she has a plastic baby. And she goes around town and makes everybody believe that this baby is real,
Right.
and
Right.
and the town believes that it's real. But that was the first feature film,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe I did. Although I did one with, like, Andy Francis,
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, Andy.
and I can't remember, it was called Leslie and Bill, but I think a lot of the movie was shot out of focus. Can you imagine doing a whole movie that's shot out of focus?
Oh,
It
wouldn't you
was in
notice that beforehand?
man, this was ba that was film.
Oh, that would
That
film,
was
so you
film.
wouldn't know it until you
Yeah.
went to
I believe
yeah,
I was actually in college when we shot that. I came down and went to Wilmington,
yeah.
and we lived in a house that had no water or to make this movie, and it was, an Italian filmmaker. I don't remember, but, it was called Leslie and Bill, and at the end of that, yeah, so but the first successful feature film I did was
Yep.
definitely Make Pretend, and that was a great
Yeah,
experience. Those are some really DJ Mendo, I admire him so much. He's a really big indie person who he is truly an artist, that I was lucky to work with, and,
that's great.
yeah.
And so looking at your credits, I mean, the Bikini Bloodbath movie stood out because you had been in a few of them, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, "What is this series that I've never heard of?" And then she's in a whole bunch of these things.
Yeah.
And, sure enough, we get on our TV and start searching, and Bikini Bloodbath, car wash, version, there's several, was on, I think it was on Tubi. They had it on there.
I love that it's on Tubi because I don't
Yeah.
know. I used to
So
say, I did all these Bikini Bloodbath movies, and they're really big in Germany and Japan. That was always my
oh, that's funny.
that was always my line, when in my act because, these B movies, they're like, the guys, they're like trauma guys, and Tom Seymour, who made these movies, he just made a movie called VHS Massacre, which is like
Yeah.
a documentary all about, how, what the history of VHS
Right, right,
tapes,
right,
and
right.
they were big trauma fans, and so these are like campy horror comedy,
Yes.
and if it and I've continued to do 2 more, and, oh my god, Lloyd Kaufman he is in, Bikini Bloodbath Christmas, uh, and then he was in the next one that we did with anyway, so they're all, like, in the family of that,
Right.
but the Bikini Bloodbath movies, how I got involved with that kind of it's like a little franchise, is
Yep.
Tom Seymour and John Gorman live in Connecticut, and at the time, I think I was dating this guy, Russ Russo, and he had been in one of their movies, it was about superheroes back in, like,
Yeah.
'96 or something, and they needed, like, a news reporter, so I was in that movie, and I had a little small role as a news reporter, and then, you start to work with the same directors over and over,
Yep.
and like, "Oh, what are you doing for a week this summer? Can you come to Connecticut and do this, bikini horror movie?" And yeah, and then I did the next one and the next one, and as you know, directors work with the same actors, and I
Yeah.
like these people. We had so much fun. We would, shoot for, like, a week and live in a
Right.
house together.
It looked like a film that you guys I bet they had just all lived together and shot
Yeah,
this, like, in a few days.
totally. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they were fun. I We did start fast forward. We got about halfway through the flick, and then I was like, "Where's the bloodbath?" 'Cause oh, and there's the first one, and then, "Oh, okay, there's another one."
Yeah.
But you didn't get killed in the car wash edition. You survived.
I you know what? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? But this is over maybe 15 years now we're doing this?
It was a while ago, and then
So,
I
yeah, they
felt
blend in together.
yeah,
I I remember my larger role was in Christmas where I got to play this character, Willem Dafoe. Willem,
nice. Willem
not
Dafoe.
Will no,
Oh,
William.
yeah.
William.
I did
William
like
Dafoe.
yeah, they had a lot of, like, just blatant copyright stuff, but it was like, "We'll change the words here and this
Oh, yeah.
here."
They
And then
were
the car wash did the whole Michael Jackson "Beat It," like,
yes!
fight scene, but it was
Yes.
not too close, but enough to know.
Yeah, yeah. The
Uh,
yeah, so that was a chunk of time I got to work with all these people simultaneously doing so much, theater at the time. So I did
right.
more theater and mostly just off-Broadway, a lot of off-Broadway, off-Broadway. Then, you hit your mid-20, then you're hitting 30 and you're like, "Oh my god, am I supposed to live off how am I gonna live? How do I
Right.
feed myself?" And
Right.
then that's where you start to say, "Okay, how do I make a living? How do I and
Yes.
so then you start looking in the film world, the television world, and also the people you're coming up with are starting to venture into that world. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
do that young. I was theater, 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 and then I was like, "Oh, this is not tenable." At least I'm not a Broadway actress. I'm not a I mean, I am a broad I'd love to be, but I'm not a
Right.
singer and that kind of thing. I'm more of a
Right.
and I was doing tons of sketch comedy. I had lots of sketch
Yep.
comedy groups and but the money wasn't there, so you're working these side jobs and you're like, "Oh, this bug. Oh, this passion." Uh, that's one thing,
Right.
and then, "Oh, but I'm so tired of living in this flop house. I'm so tired of
Yep.
not having an air conditioner.
Yeah.
I'm tired of eating ramen noodles." You do get tired. You can love something so much, but then all of a sudden you're like, "I'm getting old. I gotta get some
Right.
creature comforts." You
Right.
can't live, yeah. So there are shifts in the career, I think, that happen just because they have to, and
Right.
that's when I started in more commercial work. I don't think
Right.
actors want to do commercial work. I don't think we're, "Oh, that's so exciting."
Right.
To sell a car or to sell but it's where it's like you can survive.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that lines right up into my next little question. So I realized how great of an actress you were. What is this? I forgot to write it down in my notes. Was it, I guess 2011 ish or so? And my kids, I was a marching band director at the time, and my kids
Oh,
were like, they're like, they were doing. One of my kids was doing this little dance in my band room, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's the Sundrop dance." And I was like,
yeah.
"What do you mean the Sundrop dance?" And then they showed me the video, and I was like, "I think that's Margaret Champagne." And then my wife Chrissy's like, "Margaret Champagne's the Sundrop Girl." And I was like, "I thought that was her." And then my kids thought I was awesome because I know the Sundrop Girl.
Oh, yeah.
And so how did you get, the gig of being, the dancer for the Sundrop
Oh,
commercial?
man. That was such a great fun gig. I was doing this play called Better Places to Go. It was a really cool play, about, like, people living in small towns trying to get out, blah, 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 and this
Oh,
guy
yeah, you
came
know a
in.
lot about that.
Yeah, we don't and, because they had better places to go, and some of them got to
Right.
go, some didn't, some stayed and had better time staying. Um, but, at the time, this manager came in, his name was Sandy Gunner, and he saw me on this play and was like, "Oh, I'd like to rep you." So I started working with this manager. I'll never forget when he called me, it was like the biggest, most exciting day of my life because to find representation was very hard. It's very competitive.
Yeah.
Someone who wants to be your agent, someone who wants to rep you because, they have the keys to the doors that you don't have. Now with
Yep.
we have YouTube, we have all these other ways that people can venture to try to, show their work. At that time, there was no YouTube. There was no. So anyway, this guy, and so I started working with him, and what he sent me on was my first commercial auditions where I started doing that. I'd never done anything like that, playing the girl who's eating the hamburger or the girl
Right.
and it is a skill that is not that simple. I mean, you have to really like fine tune
Yes.
your motivation to please the client who has an idea of what this is supposed to look like, and as far as like acting, it's like really it's a different muscle, and so
Yeah.
it's a skill that has to be learned too. And at first I thought, oh, I just want to be me, and so I would go in and be like, this is the way it's going to be in the commercial, and then I wouldn't get any jobs because I wasn't paying attention to the fine print of what they wanted. They want
Right, right,
someone
right.
who's enjoying eating the sandwich and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't enjoy eating sandwich. I'm going to take a bite of this sandwich and I'm going to moan and make a, no, this is, you know, um, but anyway, finally, I think, the energy that I had met the creative and I got an audition from Sandy for Sundrop and it was um, Gosh, I hate when I lose names, but the director of that commercial was, Brian, and his last name is not gonna come to me, but he has directed a lot of movies that are really fantastic, but he was such a great director. I remember when we showed up on set, he was like, "We're gonna do this thing where we're gonna look into each other's eyes for, like, 1 minute, and we're not gonna look away, and we're gonna really get that it's all good to be you, and it's good to be me." And, we worked we looked at each other and it was just like, the eyes are the window to the soul and like you can't look
Right.
away and you're like, oh, it's like all your layers come down and you're just like, we're gonna make this commercial magic. And I don't know, that commercial had just we got that was a really lucky collaboration of all these people. It was actually MTV. There was a production company that was coming out of them, and it was a great time. And
Yeah.
that I auditioned. I went into a room with 5 people standing there,
I was
and
gonna did you have any idea of how many other people were there for the audition?
I know there was probably like 100 people auditioned for that
Right.
thing, and it just
Probably.
yeah, I mean, yeah, because you see them come and go. You have your time slot. Let's say they have an audition, your agent calls they're like, "You have a 10:05." You're in at 10:05, and at 10:08, there's somebody else, and they do this from
Yeah.
9 a.m. until 5 p.m.,
Right,
and
right,
they take
right.
a lunch break. So it's New York, there's tons and tons and tons of
Yep,
people, and
yep, yep, yep.
so that was really lucky. That was because that job, I got to travel. I got to go to South Africa being the
Oh my
Sundrop Girl.
god.
Got to go to Cape Town, and we shot a lot of the second round of commercials over there, and, it was fabulous. I got to ride in business class.
Ha
It was
Awesome.
yeah.
Now how do they get money? Like, "Alright, we're gonna do a commercial for Sundrop, but we're gonna shoot it in Africa."
Well, it's funny because, see, I'm in the union, which we're on strike
Yep,
right now, which is, oh my gosh. Well, but let's keep it up because we need to be a fair wage. How do we
that's
survive?
right.
Well, with the union, see, it's interesting. They I think they shot in South Africa 'cause it was cheaper to shoot there.
Oh,
You
gotcha.
fly the lead actress out there, and then you cast all the people there because you're gonna
Right.
spend less money.
Right, right, right,
I
right.
mean, they have very and they also needed the location because they were shooting these, like, motorcycles, and they had these beautiful sand dunes, that look like you're at the beach, but you're actually,
Yeah.
like, in the middle of South Africa.
Right, right.
But, got to travel there, that
Gotcha.
was great. Yep, so
Oh,
commercial
that's
work, did a
awesome.
bunch of that. I did a progressive commercial. I did the voiceover for every freaking thing you asked me, I'm sure I sold it on television.
Uh,
Mattresses,
yep.
yogurt, but that kept me
Yeah.
alive, and then I was able to continue pursuing my other part, which
Right.
is the independent, film, which is the stand-up, which is the sketch, which is, the theater company that I, started and all that stuff.
Yep, you gotta do one thing to get your other dreams to pop up. Yeah, but that
Yes.
Sundrop was really fun for a little bit to get to see you on TV. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. So I was looking down your credits and I was trying to pick out a few things that I thought I could find. So I watched a couple episodes of Thanksgiving,
Oh, yeah.
TV series in 2016. Chris Elliott was the dad of the family, and people don't know
Yes.
who Chris Elliott is. I always think if you remember, well, he's as SNL, and I always think of him as the friend in Something About Mary. He's Ben Stiller's
Yes.
best friend in there too, if you remember that. And am I saying her name? Amy? Is it? How do you say her last name?
Sedaris.
Sedaris. I thought so. She's great,
Yeah.
and I really loved your you guys' clip going back and forth about how you're insulting each
Oh,
other.
yeah.
That was so much fun.
That was fun, right?
And I
That
love how your
was
face is so just like still the whole time you're trashing her right in
yeah.
front of her. That was great stuff.
Thank you.
So fun.
That was, like, one of my favorite of all time jobs because I've always been a fan of hers from Strangers with Candy, and that was, like, such a weird show when I was young. It's something that I just loved,
Yeah.
and, she was Jerry, and she was larger than life, and I had worked with Dan Powell, who was a producer on that, on Inside Amy Schumer, and he had remembered me and said, "Hey, do you wanna come in and work on this show?" And I was like, "Yeah," and then he was like, "Oh, Amy Sedaris is on it and Chris Elliott," and I was like, "Oh my god." So I
Yeah.
remember going to work that day, and I had just found out I had only found out I was pregnant, maybe, like, 2 weeks before, and I was so excited about that, but I didn't wanna tell anybody because you don't wanna tell anybody until it's
Right,
viable, blah,
right.
blah, blah. And I met on that shoot Bridie Elliott, who is Chris Elliott's daughter, and it was so bizarre because me and Neil, my husband partner, um, we had wanted to name our daughter Bridie, but nobody had ever heard of that name, and then I go on this set, and I meet a girl named Bridie, and I'm like,
Oh,
"It's
wow.
fate, it's kismet."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So so Chris Elliott's daughter was in the scene with me, but anyway, there's like, oh, so I have this scene where I'm playing, the homeless shelter, I run the homeless shelter,
Right, right.
and there's like a covered dish. Everybody's bringing their
Yep.
covered dish. So when they start rolling camera, they're just like, "You guys just here's the script," and I had a script, and they're like, "You guys just run off each other." So that whole scene is just me and her making up stuff. Like
Oh.
but I'm like, I'm across from Amy Sedaris. She was like, I'm fangirling her so hard. I mean, she is
Yep, yep,
like,
yep.
so I was kind of outside of myself, and I was so nervous
Yep.
because this is like, I'm like, and that was like one of those moments where I'm like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is what I actually do this. Like where your art and like what you want to be, and then you think of what it is to be that, but then you're actually like,
I'm doing that.
oh wait, I'm doing this. I'm literally standing across from this person who I know does this. This is
Right?
this. This is this. This is this. And it's not like you've arrived, but you're just like, oh, um, you're a professional. I have to keep telling
Yes.
myself, like, it's this imposter syndrome you have. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't really do this. I mean, I do this, but like, oh, but wait, I'm standing here. I'm being paid. I'm actually being asked to just riff and
Right?
improv and do the comedy that I do. And I'm doing it. And I'm having that whole internal crisis
Right?
while on
And you're
the
doing it with
outside.
a grade A professional in front of you.
Right. So that was really great. And that was a really fun, and she was so fun to work with. And yeah, that was one of my, that day I left that and just smiled from ear to ear, and
So
you
the
hold the,
line where you talk about how, you can't and I'm terrible remembering stuff, but the line you say something about you can't even tell the mustache is there or
yeah,
something.
I
And
just
she's
had to,
like wax, wax over.
yeah,
That was all just riff?
yes.
Oh my
And
God. So
it's
hard not to
scary
break.
because I don't know, one of us had to say, like, look at that Adam's apple. She says it to me or I said it to her. I don't remember.
Well, she says, "Oh, you can't even see your tracheotomy
Yeah.
scar."
Yeah, that was it. But it was like, you just trust each other. Actors you get to play and you don't feel like insulted. But that they basically we were told, like, just totally like insult each other because this
Oh
is
my
what the
goodness.
scene is. And I
Only
was nervous.
comedians can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I have to insult Amy Sedaris. How am I gonna, but you just, yeah, it's like, the point of the scene and what's supposed to happen. I wish that show could have kept going, but that was really fun. That was
Yeah,
really
that
fun.
was fun. Yeah, I watched the 2 episodes that you were in, and then the first one, I was like, "Wait, I just heard her voice at the end." You were like I think you were voiceover, like your package or your dinner's gonna arrive or something. They had ordered dinner from a company, and you were the person on the phone, I think.
I probably see, I don't remember
Yeah,
because you
so I
know
was
what?
like, "Oh,
When I
there's her
looked
name."
at I looked at the IMDb after we had talked, and I was like, "I don't remember being in 2 episodes. What was
Yeah,
this other?"
I think you did voiceover
I
work.
did a voiceover, yeah.
Yeah, so that one was really good. So Thanksgiving, that was on Amazon Prime. If any of you guys want to check that one out, there's a season of that. And it's all about the family getting together for the Thanksgiving holiday and all the fun stuff that goes along
Yeah,
with
which
it.
is coming up, right?
That's right.
Thanksgiving.
There you go. It's a good plug right there.
Mhm.
All right. So your biggest gig, I would at least assume, anyways, you got to work with Amy Schumer on Inside Amy Schumer, and
Yes.
you did not just one season, but you are in multiple episodes of several seasons of Inside with Amy Schumer. And so that's
Yes.
pretty fabulous right there. And so it sounds like you got that gig just because of working with a guy, and you got an invite to audition for that. And then how did that become like a mainstay?
So, I feel like it's maybe 12 or 13 years ago. I knew Schumer from just around. We both did stand up together. She's an actress who, at the time, she went to William Esper Studio, which is a school here, and she graduated with a lot of people who they then formed a theater group called The Collective. And at the
Right.
same time, I was working with a lot of those people: Kevin Kane, Mike Houston, Robert Grant, Victoria DJ. Um, Mark Menchaca. There was a lot of people that I was working with on other projects, Brian Leiter, and I was doing a play that Brian Leiter was doing. I was doing a one-woman show, and then I was working with Kevin Kane on something else. And they had formed the collective for about a year, and they were like, "Do you wanna come in and work with us?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And so I knew Amy from stand up, and then I was working with her on the theater company. And then we were all working together, doing plays and producing, and we'd have Monday nights. We'd meet every Monday night. And while we were in this company over the 12 years, probably maybe like 5 years in, Amy started to really skyrocket.
Right, right.
And she was just incredible stand up. She was just like on fire, and
Yeah.
she's smart as a whip and
Yeah. She hit the
hardworking.
yeah, she hit the powerful woman
Oh yeah,
yeah,
and the
but like I don't give an F about what anyone else is saying right at the right moment because that's where our society was starting to trend. And so she
totally,
fell right in there.
it was just the perfect time and the perfect person because she's very strong, incredible. I admire her a lot. I've known her for a long time. I've celebrated a birthday party with her in New Orleans, and we went crazy. I know her in ways that are like all fun, and also with
Right?
just an incredible work ethic. And like she worked really hard.
Well, you
And
have to do that to get to that level. That just doesn't just that doesn't nobody gives
no,
that to you. You've got to
no,
work for it.
no. And so but the neatest thing too that I really got lucky was, like I told you, groups kind of lift you up and keep you
Yep, yep,
working.
yep.
As she, started to move and move, she would every Monday we would see these scripts from Inside Amy Schumer in the room in Monday nights. So Monday night they would bring in potential scripts. She got the show, then she would bring in potential scripts, and we would all get up on our feet and we'd read them, and the producers would be there, and they would be like, I might read 10 scripts and then I get maybe to do one or two on the show, but they would
Right.
learn from do they want to keep that line? Do they need to get rid of that line? Did that work? Was that funny?
Yeah.
And so we became kind of like the incubator for that show.
A little
So
writing room kind
a
of
little
thing.
right, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
the writers would come in, and I got lucky because I just got to be there. I was in the room when this stuff started to go
Right, right,
down,
right.
and when they came to cast the show, they were like, "Well, we know Maggie can do that because we saw her do it in the reading, or we know Maggie can do that role," or, because the casting process is super hard. But if you're coming from the inside where you're working, a lot of people come in through writing. A lot of actors are writers also. Like you get
Right,
in a
right.
writer's room, and so that's how I started there. And as the theater company grew, we kept going. And then Kevin Kane, who was the director of the theater company, artistic director, he went on to produce. He's produced all of her stuff, and then now he's like got a lead on Law and Order. He's like
Nice.
SUV. He's like, you'll see if you look him up. So he helped a lot of us too because he was her producer and he was the director of the theater company. So, and then I met all those people. So I met Dan Powell through Inside Amy Schumer. Then he cast me on Thanksgiving. So it's like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
people like if you need a roofer and your cousin's uncle is a roofer and you've met him at a barbecue
Right?
and you're going to say, so it
Friend
is
of a
show
friend.
business and it is, but it's friends too. And you
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
yeah. So I got to do that. And that was, honestly, that was a dream come true because that writing is so brilliant. Jesse Klein
Yeah,
was
yeah,
head
yeah.
writer for the first couple seasons. Amy's just a brilliant writer. All this, I mean, I love to work with someone who also aligns with your like political and uh,
Yes.
views on
Someone
like
who's one of your people. Yeah.
yeah, that's been great. And I was just on the last season, which we did for I want to say it's Peacock or Paramount. Oh, it starts with a
Paramount.
P. Paramount. Thank
Paramount.
you.
No, it's Paramount. Yep. I saw
Yeah,
it.
I got to work on that one, and I did a lot of voiceovers for that one, which was really cool. So they keep asking me, and I keep coming because I like that whole outfit. I feel always lucky I get to work with them.
Yeah. So a lot of your characters seem to be sort of like the girl. She's a little quirky. She's a little crazy. There's always a little something about her that's different from the rest of the crew. Is that a role you like to kind of trend to? Because I had to see that a lot. Like I don't want to keep talking about Bikini Bloodbath, but we turned it on. I was like, all right, where's Margaret? I was like, Oh, there's her with the crazy hair all poofed up and stuff. There's Margaret.
Yeah. It's interesting. It definitely was like a something that I do and that I did and that I kind of found my way, like, that's how I identified, that's how um I don't wanna say you have typecasting, but there is something like that,
Right.
and there is this, like, larger than life, awkward, um, strange, off person
Somebody
that
that's gonna go the extra mile on something.
Right,
Yes.
and so I have played that. As I've gotten older, I have also kind of branched out from that a little more toned down stuff, or more naturalistic stuff,
Right.
um, or I'm I don't know how to explain it, but as your trajectory of work changes and what you find interesting and kind of how the art form for me, uh I do think that is a character that I often play, and now I'm playing less of that and more of the moms, the more
Right.
subdued types, the listeners
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
the active. So, like,
Ah, yes.
and when you're working on different shows, you're using, when I worked on Law& and Order, that is a different, you know, you're not doing what you're doing on Inside Amy Schumer because it's a totally
Right.
different, you know what I
Right.
mean? It's like a totally
Exactly.
different, but that's where you have to make sure that you can do that. Like, can you
Right.
turn that awkward, weird, like, poofy hair girl and be that relaxed, calm, quiet train conductor? And I
Yes.
think you can, but you have to you have to
You have to
practice. I
work at
had
it.
to, yeah. And I always said this joke that, like, I auditioned for lots of shows. I mean, Blacklist, I mean, every single crime procedural I have auditioned for, and it's taken me years to try to figure out, what am I doing wrong? How can I not?
Right,
Why am I
right.
not? And I remember making, like, a joke that, like, when I finally got cast on Law& and Order SUV, that I decided that I was this is terrible, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it to you. I'm gonna just go in there, and I'm not gonna move my face. Like, that
Right.
was my whole acting, note to myself was, like,
Self,
"Go
don't
in
move your
there,
face.
don't
Yeah.
move your face. Just keep your face still. Don't move anything. Just act for the camera. Don't be big. Don't be big.
Don't be
Pretend
big.
pretend like you're doing a voiceover." And
Right.
it's stupid, and I mean, listen, you take your classes and you learn all that stuff, but you also can't help, like, who you are as a person. If you
Right.
move your face and you animate a lot just because that's the way you are, that medium of film is it's so, it catches every little nuance, so it's a different kind of acting, and you have your theater acting, then you have your sketch acting, and you have your on-camera acting, and then, you know, there's so many different, I mean, I could talk about this for, like, hours, but I won't because this isn't
Right.
what this podcast is.
I was, uh, uh, I w we had clips of Friends going on last night because we got the news of Matthew Perry
Oh,
passing
yeah.
away,
Yeah.
and, what you just said reminded me of a joke they used in there where, Joey is showing something, a clip of something, whatever he did, and they're like, "Oh, just wait, right here, I'm using my fart muscle," or something, and it was the look, it was a facial look, right?
Mhm.
Right? It's, the look you make, like, you farted, but you didn't want anyone to know, or you
Listen, whatever
and
it
I was thinking
takes.
about your Law& and Order, I was like, "Did she have the fart face Joey was talking about?"
Listen, yeah, listen. I mean,
Uh,
kind of like, if you're now I'm like, "Oh, Meisner helps me," that kinda technique is, like, yourself in imaginary circumstances. So, like, if I'm acting like I'm doing a podcast with Matt, it's like I'm myself, but I'm also maybe acting like myself in imaginary circumstances. So,
right, right, right.
to get a truthful performance, to get a truthful, I mean, the more I go down the acting wormhole and try to tell the truth, it's telling of the truth, and that's where the
Yep,
realism comes in, but that's not sketch, although it is, but,
yep, comedy is truth a lot of
yeah,
times.
yeah, to get to the truth.
Alright, so I'm gonna move along because I know you've got an appointment coming up, so I wanna keep on trucking. So you are also a stand-up comic, but you said you got that a little later. What made you, get into stand-up comedy?
I always, like, admired stand-up. I always was, like, just blown away, by it. I just love laughing, and that's how
Yeah,
why I started comedy altogether, and the just to make people laugh, I feel like is one of the best feelings in the world inside
and
when
to
you
have
know
a
that.
job where you can laugh a lot is a
Yeah.
positive too.
Yeah, yeah, and, I was at the time, I was in a sketch group called Wilt Chamberlain's Kids.
Oh, but did it have a lot of people in it?
It had a lot of people in it, and I was also in a group called The Brothel, and that was just a bunch of women, and we
Right,
we
right,
had all
right.
these
Great
funny.
names.
Yeah,
Great names.
and but we all had our own projects going on, and everybody was, like, doing their thing, and everybody so when with these sketch groups, you're putting together improv nights or sketch nights, and you're working the comedy, but after a while, it's like a band, you can't k it's untenable,
Yep.
it's hard, it's like you start to,
Yep,
like,
yep,
break
yep.
off, and then this person's working on a film for a couple of months, and now we can't have a show. So, like, out of the need to just continue being, uh, doing that thing, that bug that I
Right.
gotta do
And
it,
you
it
gotta
makes.
earn money too at the same time.
Yeah, and so I started to just kinda go off on my own, and I was actually a KJ, a karaoke jockey.
Yes, yep, yep. I'm
Okay, you
aware.
know what it is.
Yeah, my wife and I did that a few times. We thought about getting into that business.
That was the way I made money. I remember I think my first gig was like $75 a night, and I did it out in this bar called the Lido Bar in Brooklyn, and, it was back when we had, like, the CDs, and
CDs, yep, yep.
you had to get the
We
number
had
of
flip
file.
books of them. Yeah, we had like
Yeah,
we had several hundred of them. Yep.
yeah, and, when the nights were slow, I'd just get on there and start talking and,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Work
you
your
know
mu work your muscle there.
yeah, that's kinda like where I did my first stand-up was, pretending to be, a stand-up at a karaoke
Right?
situation, then I got comfortable, and then I started going, and I ran open mics for years where I got it was a different muscle, though, honestly, it's a totally different when you talk about the truth, it's like, as an actor from such a young age, I had really believed in they call it the fourth wall, it's
Right, right,
where
right.
you're being looked at, but, and you're telling the story, you're being the character, you're doing the stuff, but you're not breaking that because that then the tr you're not in that story anymore. But
Yeah, yeah.
stand-up is like, there is no fourth wall. It is like
It's you. Yeah,
it
yeah.
took me years. I built that fourth wall up for 20 years in a profession, and then I had to like, "Oh, break that wall down." We know how
Yep.
hard it is to break
Find your
down walls.
character and just stay in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in stand-up,
You don't have
there's
you're just you.
yeah.
Yep,
So
yep, yep.
that takes a lot of analyzing too, like, who are you? What do you wanna talk about? And how real is this? And that
Right?
that that's been a great experiment, though. I think it has helped my acting, and I think my acting helped my stand-up, but I think it took a while. It
It's
took a
probably
while.
good therapy too.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah.
the best comics are the ones that just tell truths about themselves.
Yeah.
Like George Carlin just spoke about, boring stuff, but he just said it in a funny way,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
true. Yeah. That's a whole 'nother interesting there's joke writers, there's people that really, have setups and punches and this
Yeah.
and that, and then there's people that just talk about themselves and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I always loved the prop people where they when I was little, I like seeing comics, but they bring out a trunk, right? And then
oh,
stuff
yeah.
would come out and then they would do stuff.
Yeah, remember was it Gallagher with the
Gallagher,
watermelon?
the watermelon and all that stuff
Oh,
too.
yeah. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, those are fun, those are fun.
Whenever we watched Whose Line Is It Anyway, my favorite was when they would have the trunk and they would have to tell jokes by whatever they pulled out, and they'd have
Oh,
to do a
yeah.
line.
That's
That was
fun.
always my favorite. All right, so let me get to some like fun questions about acting.
Okay.
All right, so what's the biggest role that you almost got?
The biggest role that I almost got.
Yeah.
I remember when I was really young, uh, I had my first agent, and I auditioned for this movie, it was called Clam, and it was about an
Clam.
awkward girl who, was like a clam.
Yeah, yeah.
And I auditioned, and I got really close, and I really thought at that age, like, it was gonna be my
Right?
career
As kids
breakout.
do.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
thought it was gonna define my whole life. But even better than that okay, and I didn't get it. But even better than that, I was in a play probably when I was about 22 in Lower Manhattan, and it was called Gravel Spine. It was about Southern snake handlers, and I
Right.
played this character, and I played a little boy, a young boy, and I just stayed in the treehouse. And this is so embarrassing, Matt, and this makes me so mad to this day that I didn't do this. This woman was in the audience, and she came up to me and she goes, "You have an incredible voice. You could really, you would be really good for this thing that I'm working on. Here's my number. Please look me up." Well, at
Right.
that time, I was in no way professionally ready. I was just doing plays. I didn't understand the business. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have a headshot. It's like I was a mess. So I got nervous and I never really followed
Right.
up on this. And
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah.
know what this show was? King of the Hill.
Oh my god. Yes.
And I'm a voiceover artist now. I mean, I make
You could
pretty
have been
much primarily my
Boomhauer.
living. Oh my God, I could have been one of them in King of the Hill.
That's right. You
Oh,
could have been Hank.
I could have
Rubber,
been
rubber,
high.
rubber.
Yeah, so that was a big mistake. Boy,
Mm.
looking back,
You
and I
just
did
never
it.
know.
You never know. I did it because of no knowledge of the business. I didn't know who to
Right?
ask. I mean, so much of our lives is you still do that. Going
Yeah.
back to this is like I still figuring out how to do that.
Right?
I didn't
Oh
know
my
who to,
god.
I didn't have family who did this. I didn't know
Yeah,
who
yeah,
to
yeah.
say. Some woman wants me to call her about the voice, but what is the voice? Can I
Right.
just be a voice actor? How do I do that? I did not know this. This 25 years ago. Now, maybe it's different. Maybe you can Google what is, I just, so that
Yeah.
was, sorry,
My
that
name
was
is
the,
Margaret Champagne, and I sell propane and propane accessories.
yes,
Oh, funny.
yes.
Um, uh, what did you turn down that you regretted later? What did you say no to? You're thinking, oh, I should have probably said yes to that.
Like absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Oh, you didn't say no to anything.
Maybe that's my problem. Yeah, have I ever said no? I mean, look, I've never said no. Only thing I ever, yeah, I'm always trying to
You
do
can't
stuff.
say no. You get. I think as an actor, right? There's a
Yeah,
at least one part in your journey that you don't say no to anything,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Only the once you get comfortable, I
yeah.
would
Then
think
you
it'd be
can.
hard to
I
say,
mean, I just don't have enough coming at me
yeah,
to say no.
right,
I
to
mean,
say no to stuff. You're like, yeah, I'll do
um,
that.
I mean, if something was like against my morals, like I don't like guns, and if
Right,
someone's like, "Would you do this commercial for this gun seller?" I will
right.
say no. I don't like, I have my political beliefs, and you're gonna have me do an ad for this politician. I don't. No,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna. So I have. I have had said no to auditions for certain type of work, but I've never said no to something that was offered because I probably went out for it because I believed in what it was.
Right, right, right,
Does that make
right.
sense?
Gotcha.
It aligned
What's
with me.
what was the funnest gig you ever had? What was the one you liked the best, or you liked a lot? I should say, if you don't want to play favorites.
Probably the funnest gigs was just working on the Schumer show because
Right?
that's been a long going thing and also just so much freaking laughter. I mean, we are
Yeah,
cutting up. We
yeah,
are. I got to work with Jermaine from Flight of the Concords, and
yeah, yeah,
I got to work with Seinfeld, you know, on her
yeah.
show, and Jennifer Coolidge. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
so you're in rooms with these people, and they're just doing what they do that you see, but they do it, and you get to be there, and you do laugh your a off because
you get to hear the other 100 jokes, and we only
yeah.
get to see the one on screen, but you guys probably told 100 others.
Yeah. And then also my own series that I made with Lisa Hickman, it's called Lipstick Garage. This is a whole series. It's on a site right now, and of course I'm not gonna remember what it is, and I'm gonna get in so much trouble for not saying
Here, I'll look it up real quick, and I'll help you
yeah.
out.
It's There's an app you can download that it's on. We'll put that in the notes. But Lipstick Garage, me and Lisa Hickman, she was one of my best friends from college. We went off and did our own thing. And it's like a 5-part series where we play all these different characters. And boy, I don't even know if it was any good, but we had so much freaking fun. We would laugh and laugh and laugh. You can on YouTube, we had to take it down from YouTube because it's been
Yeah,
put
it's the first place I went to. No, it's not there.
yeah, it's been put on a streaming site.
Right.
And I can't remember right now. But anyway, so that one, that was my favorite. Schumer and Lipstick Garage, because Lipstick Garage to make that, oh, it's called IFT Network. Okay, thank you.
IFT. There you
IFT
go.
Network presents. Yes, so they have all of the IFT Network. So it's a community of independent filmmakers and theater producers that you can get that has all sorts of stuff on it. IFT
Nice.
Network. That's
IFT
all of
network.
our
All right.
yeah. That right there. Check it out, Lipstick Garage. It's wild. I play all these crazy kooky characters and it's very like weird
Yeah.
and
Well, it sounds
free.
like that's what you like to do is
Yeah.
it's like, yep, well, let
Off
me explore
kilter.
that. I've never done that. Let's explore it.
Yeah, J. Cruz IFT Network.
All
I got
right.
mom brain still. I got mom brain some mornings. I haven't had enough
Yeah.
coffee, Matt.
So I was going to ask you what's the best part of acting, but I think you've already nailed it about laughter and having fun with friends and just exploring.
Telling stories.
Yeah, exploring stories and characters. That sounds like it would, if you can make money at it, is a dream to do.
I think too, like one last thing is like helping people learn that people are different and like, you
Yeah.
see a story that a lot of I do a lot of drama too. I do a lot of dramatic plays that talk about loss and pain and also, like being yourself and just empathy and
Yes.
help
Empathy.
yeah, helping people get into shoes that are seeing another perspective. And I had to play a villain. I don't like playing the villain, but you
Yeah.
act well thy part, for there the honor lies. I got that from Troop 4462, the International Thespian Society at Lee Senior High School. Thank you
There
very
you
much. I
go.
still say it to this day. It's something I
Nice.
say to myself before I work.
Nice. What's the worst part of acting?
Ooh, worst part of acting is probably like the insecurity, the
Right. Why
imposter
didn't they like
complex.
me?
Yeah, if am I doing this right? Like, what am I doing?
I would think the
I'm
lack
make
of
believe.
feedback. Yeah, the lack of feedback if you don't get something. Like, why
Yeah,
didn't I get it? Can you tell me why?
yeah. There's a lot of that, and but you know what you learn after so many years of doing it, you kind of put it out there and you walk away. I don't even think about it. I even last week I auditioned for a movie and I haven't even thought about it. I haven't gotten a call about it,
Right.
but after you are a professional auditioner,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
so that's part of your job. And then if you book something, but that was really hard in the beginning, like finding your people, finding your place, and trying to figure out if you want to act, how do you get to do that? It's a privilege to get to do it
Yeah.
professionally. It's becoming a professional actress is like becoming a professional basketball player. That's how hard it is. It's
Yeah.
just as hard to be in the NBA. That's how hard it is. It's like you don't, so I
You
cherish when
have
I
to
get
do
to
the
work.
work. Yeah.
Hmm.
Lots and lots and lots of little steps before the big one happens.
Yeah.
Right. You got to do a lot of bikini bloodbaths
Oh
before you
yeah.
can make it into
And
national television.
and that might not ever happen.
Yeah, it's
Some
true.
big. I did get my biggest job this year of all point, and it's not even on IMDb yet. It's a it doesn't have a release name, but it's a feature movie starring Melissa McCarthy,
Nice.
and it's
Now, did she run in the same circle as you guys and Amy Schumer?
no, because she's California. I think
Okay.
her whole. I
West
mean,
Coast.
she was actually in New York, didn't she? Do Gilmore Girls? I've never met her, and I didn't even get to meet her on the set when I worked. In this movie, the working title is called Bernard and the Genie, and she is the genie, and it's a feature, and it's a Christmas movie, and it's coming out. But with the strike, I don't know if it's coming out this year.
Right.
I hope it does, but I literally got cast in my first major motion picture film this year, and I was in it, and it was the most exciting thing of my life because I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, again, the imposter complex, because I was shooting on a sound stage and I went downstairs. They called me down to set at 11 p.m. at night. And I played the White House spokesperson. That was my
Nice.
character. I'm kind of playing the straight woman in this
Yes.
quick scene. And I don't know if you know Luis Guzman, but he's an
Oh,
incredible.
yeah.
He was acting.
Oh, my God.
And I
That's
was
awesome.
watching him act on the soundstage, because they have these huge, I mean, they look like football
Yeah, yeah,
fields, and they
yeah.
have these huge rooms. And I was watching him standing there in my outfit, and like they had covered up my tattoo, and I had this
Yeah, yeah.
coiffed hair, and I looked like, the White House spokesperson. And I
Yeah.
had on these high heels, and I was literally, my legs were like buckling, because I'm standing across from watching Luis Guzman do his thing, and I'm like, I cannot believe I'm in this room with him. I don't know why I'm telling you this story, but I feel like it was like some segue, but I don't know what the segue was, Matt. I
Oh, the
lost the
best part of
segue.
acting.
The best part of acting. So the best part of acting was, that was after I am 48 years old. So 48 years,
Yeah.
4 years I started. Now it took, now I finally got into into a place where I'm like,
Right. A real
holy
motion
shit.
picture. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'm in a real motion picture. This is going to, it should be in movie theaters. But even that is like, it's like a 45-second speech I have, and that's it.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So that's a good part. Like, wow, keep going, keep going.
Yep.
Let's
Keep
see what
going.
happens next. It's okay. Yeah.
All right. So, what's your advice for people who would decide to move to New York City to try to make it big, or to try to maintain a life up there? What's some advice for them?
Um, you know, make sure you love it and enjoy it. And if it ever doesn't work out for you, take a break. Like, if you want to pound, I say I pound the pavement. Then I took a sledgehammer and I sledgehammered the pavement. And
Pavement.
then I
Right.
I dug it up with the backhoe, and then I planted flowers in the pavement. And then, like, I did everything to the pavement. They say pound the pavement, and if you keep pounding the pavement. Well, I don't necessarily think that's, you know, prepare to have the career of the tortoise, and
Right.
and
Right.
take, and also take, do, don't just follow your career. Take, like, me, I ended up having, I do have a family. I did want the career. All I wanted was that. I thought that was, was the bug, like we talked about. But also take some time, it's that smell the roses. Don't, live, I think it's something you can go after, but it's not the only thing. Make sure that you have a full life, live,
Yeah.
like, go hang out, party, have friends, get married, have kids, get divorced, go travel, whatever it is. So have a full life, and also, work hard, and just think of it like everybody's gonna say about every freaking career. It's like the
Right. Right. Right.
journey. There's no end point. You got to enjoy every minute of it as you go, because success is not even, just because you get that end thing, it doesn't mean that none of that was success. All of that is success. Success
Right.
is a state of mind.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy the moment. That's my advice. I'm still telling
Enjoy the
myself
moment.
that.
That's
Like,
right.
this podcast is just as exciting, in a way that, like, I'm getting to talk about
Right.
I feel so lucky to do this podcast.
I
I'm
appreciate that.
enjoying this.
All right, so we're at the end of this podcast here. I asked the guests the same 6 questions
Okay.
each time, so it's good just to hear what people say. All right, so what is one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen?
It's like, you almost make me want to cry.
Uh,
Probably when my daughter was born.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Just, and my mom with her, and then the Grand Canyon. Okay, I'm done.
Good. Normally, I tell people besides your family, because everyone
Okay,
likes to
everyone's
say their
gonna say that.
family, and the Grand
The
Canyon.
Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
Woo!
that's quite marvelous.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, if you ever want to talk birthing stories, I've
yeah.
got a couple too.
Yes,
When my kids were
yes.
born, what is one of your favorite smells?
One of my favorite smells. Wow. Maybe, like, well, vanilla.
Yeah.
And then, like, some weird, like, Nag Champa.
Oh, yes, I love that incense. Yep, that's a
Yeah.
good go-to incense.
It's, like, because it reminds me of college and just, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
freedom and, like, hippie and all that. I don't know.
Right,
It's, like, got a some sort of, like, "We're gonna just chill out in
right.
Bohemia now. Yeah, chill out."
I
And
love it.
lemongrass. Lemongrass does it for me
Lemongrass.
too. Okay,
Yeah,
that's 3. I'm cheating.
you're fine. What is one of your favorite kind of sandwiches?
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's this sandwich shop in Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
I was gonna say, you got a lot of different sandwiches up there.
Yeah, they make this one called the Avatar,
Yeah?
and the Avatar has all this, like it's almost like an Italian sub, so it's got the salami, like prosciutto.
Right.
Then it has spinach and bacon. I'm a meat
Oh,
eater, y'all. I'm
I love
sorry.
it.
All my vegans, I'm sorry. Um, on a on a French bread. And
Yeah.
usually they put balsamic vinaigrette, but I say no balsamic. I don't know
Oh, I
why it
would
is so good,
I
but
would love to get balsamic on it. That sounds awesome.
yeah, it's a good sandwich. Try it. Try to make it. All the Italian stuff, but then bacon
Yep,
and the
bacon,
spinach.
spinach. Got it.
Mhm,
That sounds great.
mhm.
What's one of your favorite kind of drinks?
Um, Definitely a good IPA.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like a good I mean, that's a good I like IPAs. Or I'm a Guinness person because I mean,
yeah.
you know, uh, non-alcohol drinks, ginger beer. Ugh, I love
Yeah,
that.
ginger beers are
Yeah,
good. Yeah, those are good too.
yeah.
What's one of the things that makes you happy every time it happens?
Oh,
I know what I would pick for you.
when they say you've got a part,
Yes, that's right.
ooh, this is a good let's play this game. What do I think you're gonna but that is and then also just like, I don't know when my kid says she loves me, man. I
Yeah, yeah.
there's just this is I'm at that point, in life and I know you have it because you have 2 girls, just and you have a son.
Yep.
So you have 3 times you get to hear that.
Right.
Um, yeah, just out of the blue when the kid says, like, "I love you," or "Thanks, mom," or "You're great, mom," or, oh gosh, that I don't know. That's it. Even when my mom, I just yeah, that makes me happy every time.
What advice would you give your younger self if you could throw a
Oh,
little nugget of advice?
just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
It's all gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Everything, everything you think, matters, you do look and you just take a deep breath because what you think is so important right now is not gonna be so important in 5 years. It's
Right, right,
all
right.
yeah, because, we get so caught up in what we think is important and wisdom and time and, hey,
Yeah.
you got a roof over your head, you got food in your belly, all this emotional stuff, all this stuff in the world that's changing and people's opinions and you just have to steady yourself, take a deep breath and try to live in the moment with grace and forgiveness and also just don't beat yourself up. Um, go with the flow.
Yeah.
Go with the flow.
Grace and forgiveness. I love that one. All right. And the last and final question is a selfish one on my part to keep this podcast going. Who do you recommend to be a good guest on the show? Somebody that's been
Ooh.
doing something for a really long time that loves to talk about what they've been doing for a long time.
Mhm. Well, I have to think. I have a lot of musician friends that you could talk to.
As a musician myself, I've only had one musician on the show before. She's a music therapist, so we talk a lot about that.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Oh my god, I'm thrown for a loop right now, but I have to listen, I'm gonna come up with a list for you.
There you go.
How about
I
that?
like a
Because
list.
yeah, there's a lot of people that I know, also some, there's so many cool professions, you
Oh,
know?
two musicians. Sorry, I forget. I forgot one.
Oh, yeah.
I got
Yeah,
our
I'll come
local
up with
boy
the
Britt
list.
Buchanan. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what about Brian Buchanan? Do you know Brian
Uh,
Buchanan? I mean, just because he's
yeah.
another do you know him?
No, I don't think I do.
He is an artist. I mean, an artist I see his murals in New York City that he went to Lee Senior. He
Oh,
I'm
that'd be
gonna
awesome.
you gotta talk to Brian Buchanan because boy, he was an artist, and I would see him do his little pencil
Yeah,
drawings.
I'm writing his name on the board.
Yeah, Brian Buchanan. He's one and he's an interesting man. And I only through, The Facebook. And who's a photographer? Another guy we know. Anyway, yeah, Brian Buchanan. I don't know, that came to mind just as on an
Yeah, that's a
artist
good
level.
one. Yep, you can
Yeah.
always shoot me a list.
Okay, for
That'll be
sure,
great.
for sure.
Well, Margaret, thanks for being on the show. I was going to try to keep you around 30, 40 minutes, but we went, what, tad bit over that.
I'm sorry,
But
I
it's
talk a
no,
lot.
I loved it.
I love it. Thank you. This has been really
So
wonderful.
if you want to see Margaret in real life, you can go to Tubi and go see her Bikini Bloodbath
Yes,
Car Wash.
I want to go to Tubi and
Um,
go see it. I'm so
uh,
excited it's on there.
you can go to, do you call it IFT?
Yes, IFT
To go
Network,
see
Lipstick
Lipstick
Garage.
Garage.
Yes.
And Amazon Prime, you can go watch Thanksgiving, and she plays the homeless shelter director, and that's in the 3rd episode, I believe. And where else can they see you?
If you, I guess Comedy Central,
Either
it's
on
all the
screen,
inside.
yeah,
Yeah, all the
either
inside
on
Amy
screen
Schumer stuff.
or maybe in person in New York. Where can they see you?
The next show I have, I believe, is December 22nd at Broadway Comedy Club, 7:30 p.m.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah,
slinging my jokes.
see her
That's my
there,
next gig.
and
And
Comedy Central inside Amy Schumer.
yeah,
You can
and
check her
hopefully
out there.
in the non-titled, if I don't get cut. Now watch me get cut. You're never supposed to talk
Right.
about your job. Bernard and the Genies, starring Melissa McCarthy. Alan Cumming
Right.
is in it too.
Ooh,
Oh,
he's
that
a good one.
yeah. Yeah, that should be coming out. We'll see. Check me out. I think I'm in the last like 5 pages of the script as the White
Yeah,
House
yeah.
spokesperson. If I don't get cut. If I don't get cut, people.
Right. I bet that happens a lot.
It
People
does.
have a part that never makes it in.
Oh, it does. I brought a friend to a big movie premiere that I was supposed to be in this movie, and it was just my arm.
Just your arm. Oh my
Yep.
God. Well, a paycheck's a paycheck, even if it's for an arm.
Hey, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Margaret, it's been really fun. I can't wait to see you on stage and on screen, hopefully for years to come.
Thanks, Matt.
Remember, folks, find what makes you happy and get to it. There's a lot of life out there to live, so make it a good one. Be kind, be nice, be good, and everyone have a great week.
Thanks, Matt.
Oh, you're welcome.